Welcome to my channel, Worldwise. This is gonna blow your mind. The United States, long seen as the world's unbeatable superpower, has always projected an image of strength and stability to the world. Its influence stretches across continents, shaping global politics, economics, and security. But now, for the first time in generations, it faces a crisis that challenges its very foundation and shakes the confidence of its leaders and citizens alike. Its military might and technological edge have always seemed unassailable, especially against a nation like Iran, weakened by years of sanctions and international isolation. American power was supposed to guarantee swift victory. Yet, as of March 9, 2026, the war with Iran is not a quick victory. It's a grinding, costly struggle that drags on with no clear end in sight. The toll is mounting, both on the battlefield and at home. The unthinkable is now being debated in living rooms and newsrooms across the country. What if America could actually lose? The possibility, once dismissed, is now a topic of urgent discussion. Iran's strategy is exposing vulnerabilities that go beyond military strength, striking at the heart of America's economic dominance. Disruptions in oil supply and financial markets are sending shockwaves worldwide. This isn't a war for territory, but for the future of the global economic order. The stakes are higher than ever, with the world's financial stability hanging in the balance. For years, Washington underestimated Iran's resilience and strategic depth, believing its adversary would quickly fold under pressure. Now, a nation once dismissed as brittle is forcing a painful reevaluation of American power and strategy. The old assumptions no longer hold. The conflict is rewriting the rules of modern warfare, blending technology, economics, and information in ways never seen before. The world is watching as the unthinkable unfolds, uncertain of what comes next. The question is no longer if America can win, but whether it can avoid a historic defeat that could reshape the world for generations to come. Enter Professor Saine, a game theory expert whose predictions have shaken the world. Once obscure, Saine gained notoriety after correctly forecasting Trump's return to the presidency and the eruption of war with Iran. His most chilling prophecy, the United States would not just fail but suffer a system-altering defeat, triggering the collapse of the global economic order and the dethroning of the dollar. Saine's models see Iran as a rational actor, exploiting America's rigid strengths and the fragility of the global economy. Intelligence agencies and financial markets now scrutinize his every word. His predictions aren't wild guesses. They're grounded in cold analysis of incentives and vulnerabilities. Saine saw the interconnected global economy as a house of cards, and Iran as the player ready to topple it. The world is finally listening. Iran never intended to match America tank for tank. Instead, it built a vast network of proxy forces, its ghost army, across the Middle East. From the Houthis in Yemen to Hezbollah in Lebanon, these groups wage war on Iran's behalf, keeping the conflict far from Iranian soil. This decentralized network absorbs blows, strikes back, and creates strategic ambiguity. Every attack by a proxy forces Washington to choose, escalate dangerously, or absorb the hit. Iran's proxies have spent years gathering intelligence, testing U.S. responses, and perfecting their tactics. Now, in 2026, they're executing a coordinated campaign to bleed American power in the region. The U.S. is stretched thin, reacting to threats from all directions. Iran's ghost army is turning America's strengths into liabilities. Iran's true target isn't the U.S. military, it's the economic lifelines of America's Gulf allies. By striking oil refineries, ports, and especially desalination plants, Iran threatens to destabilize Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and others. Disrupting water supplies could spark humanitarian crises and internal chaos. Attacks on energy infrastructure send oil prices soaring and global markets reeling. Even the threat of closing the Strait of Hormuz has driven up shipping costs and insurance rates, choking global trade. Iran's strategy is to make defending these allies so costly that America's commitment becomes unsustainable. For every billion-dollar defense system, Iran launches swarms of cheap drones and missiles. The economic pain ripples worldwide, undermining the very system that sustains U.S. power. America's greatest allies are now its greatest vulnerabilities. At the heart of American power lies the petrodollar system, a financial arrangement that has shaped the global economy for decades, quietly underpinning the strength of the U.S. dollar and the reach of American influence. Gulf oil is sold exclusively in dollars, with vast profits flowing back into the U.S. economy through investments, government bonds, and American assets. This cycle doesn't just fund America's deficits, it bankrolls the world's largest military, fuels the tech sector, and even powers the ongoing AI boom, giving the U.S. a unique edge. But now, Iran's attacks threaten to shatter this fragile arrangement, putting the entire system at risk. As Gulf economies stumble and face uncertainty, their incentive to keep trading oil in dollars weakens, opening the door to alternatives. A crisis in the Gulf could trigger a collapse of the petrodollar system, pulling the rug from under the U.S. financial system and sending shockwaves through global markets. Investments that prop up the tech sector and drive innovation could vanish overnight, sparking a devastating market crash and erasing trillions in value. Without global demand for dollars, America would lose its privilege as the world's reserve currency, fundamentally altering the balance of power. The economic pain would be immense, crippling American families, shrinking military reach, and undermining the nation's ability to project power abroad. In the end, the war's outcome may be decided not on the battlefield, but in the world's financial centers, where the fate of currencies and economies hangs in the balance. Professor Sine's domino effect is already in motion, with each event threatening to topple the next. The American century is at risk of ending, not with a bang, but with a crash that could echo for generations. America's real challenge isn't firepower, it's the economic imbalance of modern warfare. Iran's proxies deploy swarms of cheap drones, each costing tens of thousands, while the U.S. spends millions per interceptor. This drone dilemma is bleeding America's treasury and depleting its missile stockpiles. Every missile fired at a drone is one less for future conflicts, including with China. The U.S. is forced to mortgage its strategic readiness for an unwinnable war of attrition. Costs are soaring, political support is eroding, and Congress is balking at endless funding. The American public, weary of rising prices and no clear victory, is losing patience. Iran doesn't need to win battles. It just needs to keep launching drones until America's will collapses. The war is unwinnable on these terms. Iran's strategy is working. America's answer to asymmetric war is airstrikes, hitting Iran directly. But history shows air power rarely delivers decisive results, especially against a hardened, decentralized foe. Iran's regime has prepared for this, dispersing assets and rallying its people. Airstrikes inflict damage, but fail to break Iran's resolve. Attacks by proxies only intensify. A ground invasion is politically impossible. Americans remember Iraq and Afghanistan all too well. The Trump administration is trapped. Airstrikes can't win. Boots won't go in. Iran's strategy has forced the U.S. into a costly, indecisive conflict. The war drags on with no exit and no victory in sight. America is stuck in a war it cannot win or leave. Even if America wins militarily, the cost may be catastrophic. The price of victory in this case could be far greater than anyone anticipates, with consequences that ripple far beyond the battlefield. Tens of billions spent, stockpiles depleted, oil prices soaring, Victory could leave America economically hollowed out. Factories might struggle to keep up with demand, and ordinary Americans could feel the pinch as inflation rises and jobs are lost. China, watching from the sidelines, stands to gain as America drains its resources. While the U.S. is distracted and weakened, China could quietly expand its influence, investing in new markets and forging stronger global partnerships. A destabilized Gulf and shattered petrodollar system would destroy U.S. credibility and global leadership. Allies might question America's reliability, and adversaries could sense an opportunity to challenge the old order. Nations would abandon the dollar, seeking new alliances with China and Russia. The global balance of power could shift overnight, leaving America isolated on the world stage. America might win the battle, but lose the global system it built. The foundations of its influence, economic, political, and cultural, could begin to crumble. Recent history shows military victory doesn't guarantee strategic success. The human cost, too, would be immense. Families changed forever, communities mourning their losses. Iraq and Afghanistan proved that costly wars can erode power and prestige. The scars of conflict linger long after the fighting stops, haunting both nations and their people. By repeating old mistakes, America risks paying the ultimate price, not for defeat, but for a victory that feels like loss. The nation could find itself diminished, its spirit shaken, its future uncertain. The lesson: in this new era, even victory can mean the end of American dominance. True strength lies not just in winning wars, but in preserving the foundations that made America a global leader. Thanks for watching. My next video is playing now. Click to keep exploring these critical issues and see what happens next.